Hi everybody, and welcome to my channel, A Magical Life with Ayla. I'm Ayla Hillel, and today we are going to talk about imposter syndrome and other impossible ideas that hold us back. So let's get started. In the topic of raising our vibration, we want to go after all positive thoughts. Now, in the last video, we talked about positive toxicity and, narcissistic spirituality. And those are things, those are real things that actually happen. We want to come into a balance with our positivity, with having to live in the third dimension, because there's a lot of negative things that happen in the third dimension, isn't there? So we kind of have to come into balance with being positive. And I told you in the last video about the difference between toxic positivity and overreactions to the things that happen in our lives and the things that happen to us. But today I want to talk about this idea that psychologists call it imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is the idea that I'm going to go forth in my healing practice. I've been a healer my whole life, and I'm going to create a business around my healing practice, and I'm going to exchange the energy of money for my time and energy. Now, this is very valid. This is a very valid thing, like any other business is valid. This is a valid business. But someone who suffers from imposter syndrome may feel like, but I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to put myself out there as a business, as a healer. I'm not good enough. Maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I'm not powerful enough to lead other people into their healing. And there's all these kinds of issues that come up around imposter syndrome. And it doesn't even have to be that you want to start a business and you're afraid you're not good enough. It doesn't even have to be around that. It can be around a very, something very subtle, like in your group of friends, that you're afraid if your friends look at you too close, that they're going to realize that you're not who you say you are. You're not who you say you are. This is the bottom line of imposter syndrome, that somebody's going to find out that you are not who you say you are. Now, to some of us, this is a very strange idea. I've never had these feelings before, not to any degree that it has stopped me from doing what I want to do. I was the high priestess of Rowan Tree Pagan Ministries from 2001 to 2014, and then again from 2017 to just recently, to 2022. We kind of dissolved the ministry, and I have moved into a private healing practice. Now, this is still a nonprofit organization. A Magical Life with Ayla is a nonprofit organization that works diligently to help everybody who is seeking healing to find what works for them. So I'm there. I'm going to present you with a lot of different ways, different means to heal yourself. of my long list of tools in my arsenal, we're going to find a combination of what works for you. The things that are in my toolbox as far as healing modalities are things that I have personal experience with. And I know that they work. I believe that they work, but I know they work because I've had personal experience with them. Now, do they work for everybody? Absolutely not. You've heard the story of my healing through meditation. I was healed finally of my last little bit of mental illness through silence meditation. And when I came out of that meditation and I realized I was healed, I was thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm going to take this to the world and I'm going to heal the world with it. That doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody the way it worked for me. And that was a hard thing for me to get my mind wrapped around. Now, you've just listened to me for several minutes talk about what I do. Sometimes there is that still small voice that tells us, you're not good enough. You don't have enough experience. I have 20 years of experience. When I started out as the High Priestess of Rowan Tree Pagan Ministries, the thought never crossed my mind that I wasn't good enough or I didn't have enough. Nobody else was doing it. And I felt like Southern Oregon needed this beautiful, amazing product that I wanted to create. I wanted to create this beautiful gift and give it to our area, which at that time had no type of situation like that. So the thought of maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I don't have enough, maybe I'm not experienced enough, those things never crossed my mind. Now, imposter syndrome, like I said, the bottom line is that I'm just not good enough. Stop and think for a moment. Now, here's part of the solution. I've given you the problem. Now, here's part of the solution. Stop and think for a minute. Where inside of yourself are you coming from? Now, healers, such as myself, I can tell you that I come straight out of my heart. And to a point that I'm not balanced with my logic. When it comes to the healing thing, I have a really hard time watching people suffer. Now, this has an upside and a downside. Some people like their suffering. They're addicted to it and they want to stay there. It is not my job to convince them otherwise. They get to do whatever, everybody gets to do whatever they want to do. That's what free will is all about. But for those people who are just like, I want to change, I want to grow, I want to evolve, and I know that changing, growing, and evolving has a lot to do with my healing, those are the people that I'm looking for. Those are the people that I'm clearing a path every day that they can see me and I can see them. When they come to me, what I have to offer them really could never be judged as enough or it's fake or it's fraud. It's coming from my heart. It's a gift, and I'm going to work with that person to birth their healing, like a midwife works with a woman to give birth to her child. That's what we do in healing. And it's not a matter of do I have enough or do I have enough experience? I have all of this experience and I want to give it away. I want to give it to people and help them with their heroic, courageous healing journey like I had. I had an amazing healing journey. I still have an amazing healing journey. I work on my healing every day because I don't believe that we ever arrive when it comes to our healing. I believe that we have to work on it every day. That just by nature of the fact that we're here in this dimension. But the third dimension has a way of just continually throwing crap at us. There's situations that happen in our family, the death of a loved one, or, situations with a friend. And so we're constantly having to learn how to heal from those things, how to grow in those things. And imposter syndrome becomes irrelevant and insignificant when you realize that what you are trying to present, either on a personal level, a professional level, whatever it is that you are trying to present to the world, is coming from your heart. What you are trying to present to the world is coming from your heart. Okay? Now, if you're a psychopath and you don't have a heart, what I'm saying isn't going to make any sense to you. But you guys really aren't my audience. My audience is the light workers and the healers that are stumbling around in the dark, maybe trying to get their feet under them and trying to find their direction. I mean, if you feel like you're a healer, if you have a really hard time watching people suffer in their shadows and you think that you can help with that, but you don't really know how to get started, you're a healer. Don't question that. What you're going to have to do, though, is you're going to have to start acquiring the skills that are going to help you come from your heart. So I'll give you an example of this. When I was training the ministers for Rowan Tree Pagan Ministries, I would always tell them part of ministry duty was you had to lead rituals. You had to be able to lead rituals. And all of us would take turns leading rituals. And so every year when we did our training for the ministers, I would tell them, write your rituals. Write your rituals. That way you're prepared. You know what you're doing. You have ideas about what you want to do when you get into that ritual with a circle full of people. But when you walk through the door at that ritual, turn loose. Turn loose and let spirit have its way with you. So if you're thinking that you're a healer and you're doubting yourself, get some training. If you want to be a sound healer, take a sound healing course. They're all over the internet. If you want to help people with healing herbs, take a class in herbology. Take the classes that you feel you are most interested in. Not all healers do the same thing. Some healers will simply just sit down with you and look into your eyes, and they can help you that way. I have a whole list of things that I have experience with that I'm either certified in or I just have a lot of experience in that thing. So take a class. Take classes in everything that you're interested in. And then when you start working with people, allow spirit to work through you. Yes, you have all of this information, and that information is wonderful to have. But spirit wants to have its way too. So you're kind of going to be in tandem with the universe when you're working with people. Now, as you're listening to me talk about this, does this help dissolve some of the feelings that maybe I'm a fake or maybe I'm a fraud? Maybe people are going to think that I'm a fake. It's not that you are, because you're not. And I hope you know that. But you're worried that people are going to think, and let me tell you this about what people think. You have not arrived as a light worker or a healer until you have your hate group. I have a vast hate group of people who would be very happy if I would sit down and shut up. But I'm not going to do that because the price is too high. The price is all of the people who are searching for healing. I want to be there for some of that. For those people who are attracted to my methods, I want to be there for them. I want them to get the healing that they deserve. Okay, so that feeling, I think we're always going to have that feeling, that maybe we're not good enough. I think we're always going to have that. I know when I first got ready to open my business as a healer, um, I had a stereotype in my head. It seemed to me, the observation that I was making, that a lot of female healers today are these very pretty, blonde-headed, very thin um, type of people. And I'm not. I'm like a bull in a china shop. It's like my feet are on the earth, my head is in the clouds, and I am awkward and I'm clumsy and I stumble around a lot in my life. But I know how to take a person into their healing because I've been there. And what better person to lead you down that path than somebody who has been there? So I had to kind of get over those stereotypes that I didn't look like the other girls. I don't sound like the other girls. I don't act like the other girls. You know, I'm Ayla. And what I have to offer, I had to finally realize in my own little tiny bit that lasted for wisps of a moment, my little tiny bit of imposter syndrome. I had to realize that what I have to offer is relevant, that what I have to offer is real. And I'm going to be with my clients from beginning to the place where they're like, okay, I got this. That's the end for me in their healing journey, is when they turn around to me and say, I can take it from here. I'm with them from beginning to end. So this idea that we're not good enough, it's a very low vibrational idea. And let me tell you where this comes from. This comes from the ego. The ego doesn't want us putting ourselves out there. Now, remember, I explained to you before about the ego and the spirit. So the ego wants to keep us safe. And this is why our ego is our most important teacher. It's a function of your own personality. And if you understand it, if you understand that your ego is basically your protector, it wants to keep you safe. It's the mother who wants to keep her child at home all the time. Don't let the child go to school because kids are mean. Don't let the child go out in public because people are mean. Don't let the child go out into the world because he could fall down and skin his knee. He could get hurt. But then what happens if that child never goes out into the world? Yes, he's safe, and he's very, very stifled. And we can do the same thing with our spirits. When our ego starts to say, no, I don't want you to respond to your urges to help people heal because you're going to have to put yourself out there, and then we're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. You're going to have critics. You're going to have people who would be really happy if you would just sit down and shut up. Just get that through your head, that as you go out as a light worker and a healer, as you go out as a good person who has gifts to offer to the world, you're going to get hurt. There's going to be critics. There's going to be people that are trying to discredit you. Just realize that. That's just the way it is. So we want to listen to our ego. We want our ego to counsel us, but we also want to understand that 9 times out of 10, we're going to want to listen to the spirit as well. We're going to want to go the direction of the spirit. I realized some time ago that I really don't have a choice in whether I help people heal or not. This has always been a part of my personality. There was never much of a problem with the ego. I mean, wisps of the ego going, well, you don't look like the other girls. But that was always very short-lived. I never really had an issue with whether I do this or not, because I've always felt like I don't have a choice. It's part of my personality. It's always been part of my personality. But as you're coming into this, as you're starting to wake up to who you are and what you think it is that you're supposed to be doing in the world, you may get a lot of pushback from your ego, wanting to keep you safe, wanting to keep you where you're at, especially if your life has been really quite well up until this point. Happy, healthy relationships, happy, healthy home, job has been fine, finances are good. If you've had this place in your life where you've been safe and comfy, your ego may be like, what? We're not doing that. We'll mess everything up if we do. You might. You might mess everything up if you respond to that call of light and healing. If you feel like you have a job to do, you have work to do, it may cause ripples in your life, and you may have to deal with that. You may have to figure out a way to do your work as a light worker and keep peace at home. That's a difficult situation. I don't have a lot of advice for that. I have seen people, I'm thinking of one channeler in particular, who lost his entire life when he started channeling the group of beings that he's been channeling for 30 years. He lost everything. He lost everything in his life. And I'm not recommending this. I'm not recommending that you throw caution to the wind and just go straight into your work. What I'm telling you is there may be issues that you have to deal with. And you are going to have to find the middle ground for each of those things. Because as the light wakes up and as that feeling of wanting to help people heal begins to grow in you, you are not going to be able to shut that off. That becomes very dominant. It will become very dominant in your thought process and in your feeling process. So there's that. And, as far as how that relates to imposter syndrome, is that I remember telling a friend the other day who's struggling with this idea of imposter syndrome, there's no way you can be an imposter. You have a thought, you have a feeling that you want to help other people. You want to help other people by coaching them. She wants to coach and she wants to help them heal. And once you have that thought, that's real. Those thoughts and those feelings are real. Most normal people don't have those thoughts and those feelings. And I know right now you're thinking normal people. We are not normal. The light workers and the healers are not normal. We're geared differently. We're wired differently. And everything in my life, I have a family I love very much. I try to spend as much time with them as I can and looking after them and visiting with them. I have a group of friends. This is all very important to me. I have a job. And I have bills like everybody else has. So I take the money from my job and I use it to pay my bills. Now, that all sounds very normal. But what you don't understand, which is abnormal about my situation and about many of your situations, is that all of those life aspects that I just mentioned, all of those life aspects are seen through the lens of the work I do as a healer. And that many times that takes center stage. That work takes center stage. If there's an issue in my family, then I move that into the focus, and that becomes what I focus on until the issue is resolved. And then I'm back to looking at things through this lens of healing. So this gets to be very complicated. And if you are feeling like you want to help people heal, or you want to help people, you want to bear the light for certain people and help them find their way possibly into a relationship with the universe, there is no way you can be an imposter. if you are having those feelings to begin with, that is real. That is what is real. This little jibber jabbery in the back of your head about what if people think I'm a fake, what if people think I'm a fraud, that's the ego. Okay, listen to that, because what that's telling you is you should go forward with what you're feeling. That's how our ego helps us. Whatever it is saying, we need to explore the other side of that. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not saying that if you have this feeling like you don't want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane with a parachute on your back, I would never do that. I will never jump out of an airplane with a parachute on my back. That is not my idea of a good time, and it's certainly not something that I want to do. Now, is that my ego talking, telling me, don't jump out of that airplane? My spirit is also telling me, yeah, we don't need to go there to grow and to evolve. We don't need to jump out of that airplane. So this is a relationship, with your imposter syndrome. It's a relationship with your ego in conjunction with the relationship that you have with your spirit. And both will guide you. Both your ego and your spirit will guide you into that place. And if you're not sure how to get started, so many people are like, I have these feelings, I don't know how to get started. I wouldn't know how to get started if I woke up yesterday and said, I want to help people heal. For me, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been doing it my whole life, but really officially for 20 years. And so my signature programs, I have 2 of them, started way back 20 years ago when I started doing what I felt I needed to do to help people heal. And when you first start off, it's a learning curve. You're going to figure out what you need to do. What is your program? What is it that you want to do with your clients? And what do you want to have them take away with them? What did I want to give them that they could take with them as a healer? And my number one thing, and I think that if you are legitimate, if you are not an imposter, the number one takeaway you're always going to want your clients to have is their own independence. Are you giving them skills that they can go away from you and continue to heal? That's how you know you are not an imposter. You want your clients to become independent. Now, if they're like, oh, I like coming every week, I just like sitting in the energy, I like you running Reiki for me, fine, that's fine. They're not dependent on you. They like coming and hanging out with you every week, but they're not dependent on your healing energy for them. So I don't know if this was helpful. It's, when we start talking about things like toxic positivity and narcissistic spirituality, it gets really complicated. And the last video that I did was just one layer. There are layers and layers of toxic positivity and narcissistic spirituality. And then even this. It's like we could peel back the layers of the onion and forever looking at different aspects of imposter syndrome and where that comes from and why we have it in the first place. And really, I don't think any of those things matter. I don't think where it comes from, why you have it, I don't think it matters. Do you understand it? Do you understand that this thing is happening inside of you and it's holding you back? The world needs you. You know this. More than anything right now in the world, we need the light bearers. We need the healers. We need the positive people. And we need to be able to navigate our way through our own darkness. And sometimes we can do that on our own. And sometimes it's good to reach out to somebody who possibly might know the way on that path and might be able to help you. So that's really all I have to say today. I haven't did a video in probably a month because I'm having technical difficulties and trying to work those out, and getting closer. So I'm getting closer to getting back on track with my weekly videos. So hang in there with me. I love you with all my heart, and I will see you next week. Blessed be.